Hey, Black Magic Sorcerer here with another hardcore video. And I just was having some thoughts, and I was thinking about how sometimes it is kind of interesting to hear occult stories like, for example, you were doing a ritual of some kind and, you had some kind of phenomenon happen. Like, you were invoking the devil and the devil actually showed up. I mean, that would be incredible. So I struggle and I think, well, what's some of the real phenomenon that I've experienced that's really scared the shit out of me? And I will always go back to the same experience that I've had when I was around 7 or 8 years old. And I've told this story before, maybe a little bit, but maybe not in depth, or to now be able to reflect on it as someone who's worked with dark entities, dark gods, spirits like that. Um, Looking back on it now, it almost seems as if I was chosen to be on this path because at such a young age I was exposed to dark entities instead of light entities. I for lack of a better term, I just seemed like I gravitated towards, or they gravitated towards me for some reason. So at the age of 7 or 8, I'm asleep on my sectional couch, and I get this sensation or feeling that I'm being watched. So when you have that feeling, it feels like you're frozen. It feels like you're frozen in time, and you feel like a deer in the headlights, but you just feel paralyzed. Um, Looking back on that feeling, one of the things that comes to my mind is how when people are abducted or claim that they've been abducted by aliens, they will often refer to the paralysis of the body just being stiff, stone paralyzed, like you're just frozen. And sorry about the camera, it's hard to get a good angle here. I'm trying to get some of these stuff in the background so there's something to look at least. Um, yeah, so that response of just pure dread, like, you know, I don't even know how you would put it into words. Take however the most fear you've ever felt in a instant. For example, like almost being hit by a car and narrowly escaping that, or would say someone shot at you and they missed. That kind of level of fear, that oh my god, fucking fear. That gripped me, and this is before I even turned around to lay my eyes upon this entity. So as I flip around, I'm laying with my face towards that back of the couch. So with the sectional couch, I would always lay with my face where my nose would be in between the little crack in the sectional. So where the two couches meet, because directly behind that was a window where I think some air would come in, and I just liked the cold, fresh air. But I was paralyzed in that position, and I noticed that the house was abnormally dark. And I wasn't really used to the house being that dark. There was usually some sort of light on, a hallway light, a bathroom light, a kitchen light, something to light, where when you open your eyes, you at least see, what it was. And as I finally turned over, I look and I gaze my eyes upon this reptilian, demonic looking creature that's perched on the coffee table next to me. My parents had one of these kind of cool oriental looking coffee tables that's circular and you can turn it. So I don't know what they call those, but it was kind of cool. It was kind of like a table you could put stuff on and then move it in a circle, basically. So I remember that glass coffee table. Now keep in mind the vicinity from where I'm laying in conjunction to the spirit that's now perched. I say perched because he was just like a gargoyle. It was as if his feet were gripping the table, and then he was kind of, well, this is a perfect example right here. Where is he? This guy here, this little gargoyle statue I have, this is basically, imagine a more narrow face, but this is basically what he was doing. He was just sitting, observing me. I could feel him observing me. Damn, look at those shoulders, man. For someone who barely works out anymore, I sure do have some definition still there. Fucking hey. So, this is what I saw. And as a 7-year-old, that is pretty frightening to behold something, a monster like this, so to speak. He's funny. He's talking to me. This Gregory statue I've created. He has a little energy to him. I love these little gargoyles. I wish that his ear had not broken off, but I kind of like it because when you actually look at old statues and stuff that are really ancient, they are not perfect. They have chips, scratches, marks, parts of them have been broken off. I like that whole ruined, rough look. In fact, I want to do some paint on him, maybe do a whitewash or something and kind of make him look more like stone opposed to just a monster. There's 3 cute little statues I have. They're all different. I'll go ahead and show those too since I'm kind of on that same subject. Let me flip around. I'm sick of, I don't need to see my face anymore. So these are kind of like her little guardians. Sorry about the blood-soaked statue. He's cute. He just kind of a sarcastic gargoyle, typical little guy. I don't know where people, I think these were Halloween decorations originally. This one's badass. He's got a lot of detail. He's got a lot of detail. I love his wings. They're, he looks like he's stonewashed, so he looks pretty good, but I'd like to do some highlights on him. I used to do some miniature foundry type painting for a tabletop war game called Warhammer, where you build scenery and stuff like that, and I got really into painting objects. It's amazing what you can do if you're making a medieval house or something like that. It's very time consuming, but it's a fun little hobby, making a 3D diorama type thing or carving something out of foam. It's one of those things that I think magicians all have, is some sort of little hobby where they work on something or collect something. For me, I've got so many hobbies, it's just kind of ridiculous. I mean, I love everything from drawing and painting to playing instruments and training for fighting and shooting guns and working on myself, working on being able to be more flexible just as a human being, being able to be more flexible in my art, more open to different mediums and stuff. And this dude's pretty badass. I must have gave him a little sacrifice. He's got some blood on his head. They're kind of like the guardians here, little guardian spirits that I keep around just so they can guard this altar, guard Lilith here. And I've been really trying hard to please Mother Lilith lately, so she's got more blood splashed on her than normal. My blood, of course. Mother Hecate, just her energy is so calm and serene. She doesn't have that roar like demonic energy. She comes in a very wise, old, can be very youthful, young, barefooted, beautiful creature. A basically Greek goddess, but a dark Greek goddess is where the way she comes through to me psychically. That's why I like this statue, and I love her dogs and the fact that she's got snakes on her and skulls, and whoever originally chiseled this little statue is pretty cool. It's just resin, but I really like it. And since we're talking about statues, I can't leave out Kali Ma. Mother Kali is, she's awesome. If you're wondering what the money is for, those are just offerings. I give everyone of my statues a little monetary something, and I don't spend it or use it or do anything. I just leave it there. and I let that wealth generate, because putting it in her sphere of influence and invoking her means now she's attached to money that I earned, and her foot is over it. So having dominance over the financial flow, and then she's got in her trine, she has a dollar bill too, which is, keeping money balanced, as above, so below. And I like her whole concept because it's really a lot of things in all at once. The lust, the vengeance of lust. That if someone killed your lover, you thought they were dead, here he is, Shiva's laying here dead. She thinks that he's dead, but it's actually just he's asleep. I love the depictions of all the snakes. She's got a cobra. God, I wish cobras weren't poisonous and tameable. I would have one. You can see she has those little Indian feet that are in this same depiction I have over here on my little thingy. Everyone seems to have the same shit. It kind of sucks for an occultist. There isn't a really a large variety of stuff available as far as depictions of sculptures and paintings and things. That's why I like to create stuff that's my own. Got a extra deck. I have 2 of these decks, but this is the one my good friend gave me, so I put it up here just as a reminder of that. I keep other stuff up here, like my lancet. That way, if I'm going to make a sacrifice to the girls, I go ahead and get it over with. I keep my Reiki stones up here so that they're charging. I keep my demonic sigils up here. And with my new pendulum that I've been using and bonding with very slowly, which is another wonderful gift I got from my mentor. And I cannot wait to use this nail in a curse. This is such a perfect nail for jabbing into a doll or a dead frog or fucking, getting creative with a curse. That I think is awesome. She sent me this beautiful crystal, and of course, first thing I did was dropped it and broke in half. It was depressing, but I love it, and I cherish all these gifts. And I have another gift from a witch friend of mine too, and I keep it in my living room. And those who I have been gracious enough to experience their energy, witches send each other stuff all the time because it's kind of a way of filling, in a sneaky way, I think it's a way of witches filling each other's power. So, if I send a crystal charge to a friend, then they kind of get a sense of, oh shit, this has got a lot of power in it. That, this friend of mine does have some real gift. So it's a good way to tell if your friend really is gifted or not, I guess you could say. If you're an object reader and they've charged crystals and stuff for you, and I open my box of gifts from my mentor, basically I could feel the energy coming out of it already. Just that loving, accepting, non-judgmental, very female goddess type energy that she tends to exude. And I had an ex-girlfriend who was a very powerful witch, and when she died, I happened to inherit, pretty much by accident, her pendulum, and I've always used it and cherished it, and I still use it once in a while, but now I've retired it and put it with her bag of personal stones. She has some really badass stones in here that she would carry with her everywhere she went. Oh, look at that. It's funny. Sometimes I do spells, and then I take the sigil or whatever I've done, and I will put it behind a sculpture to bless it with that particular entity's energy. And then I forget about it, and that's how magic works, is you have to forget what you've done. So I'm going to open this up and just see what the hell I did. I'm not going to show it on camera yet. What the fuck? Huh. expected. This must have been something I put a long time ago behind this statue. And what is written on it is not real important. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in my cursing jar. And that is what will happen with this spell, is I'm going to forget it even more and just toss this situation away. So anyway, my friends, this is magic in essence. This is basically what magic is. It's form a relationship with different entities, different constructs, gods, goddesses. I've said before how I feel about being labeled as a Satanist or, being called those different names. I don't mind them. I find them to be honorary titles, but demonologer, magician, sorcerer, wizard, it doesn't really matter. They all refer to the same thing, which is someone that practices magic. I suppose if you're of a definition where you really want to be associated with white magic, then maybe you would want to be associated more with being called a Wiccan or something exciting like that. But as far as I'm concerned, 90% of occultism is bullshit. It's what you make personal to you, those relationships that you form that are real. When I had that experience as a child, that stuck with me. All it was a 5-second glimpse of a demon. And that's changed the whole world for me and set me upon a path where I was much more open to the occult because of it. And I will absolutely never forget that incident and that feeling. And instead of being afraid or petrified or scared that I would see it again, I sort of had a longing to understand or get a grip on or wanted to know more. It made me really curious, and whatever initial fear was there eventually over time went away, and it was replaced by a fucking lust for the occult. And books with hidden knowledge, talking to people who have worked closely with fallen angels. This is a really fucking cool club to be a part of. It's a very honorable club, and to even think of yourself in such a light as to put yourself among other magicians, I think is a very brave and noble thing to do, because most people are scared to death to say that they even play with a Ouija board, not to mention walk around with satanic symbols on their body, or what people would consider to be satanic. I love my tattoos. The only way they're coming off is if someone cuts them off. And, I'm just so grateful that I've been able to have these experiences with these different spirits. And everyone that I've dedicated myself to, or that I've made a pact with, or that I've just tried to get to know, it's always been worth it. It's because I think from an early age they could see I had an interest in the darker aspects of character. Like, for example, I was obsessed with the movie The Warlock, and I was really obsessed with the medieval time period where they had wizards and sorcerers, and I loved all of that. I couldn't get enough of it. I was a Dungeons and Dragons player, and maybe that has something to do with it, the fantasy element of it. But let me tell you this, if you've seen the entities that I've seen, the shadow spirits, the physical spirits I've seen, the bare-breasted, beautiful image I saw of Astaroth, the horrific experience I experienced later on with Beelzebub and Baal, two different spirits, two different manifestations, two totally different years apart experiences, but they stick with you, and when you think about them, you're kind of perplexed. It's kind of a bit like you want to say to yourself, well, maybe I was just crazy at that moment, or maybe I was dreaming at that moment, or maybe I got something wrong. You start trying to doubt yourself because, in theory, it should be impossible for you to call something into physical manifestation by your own will and then for it to show up on its own is a whole different story, because that means that these spirits have taken a deep interest in you and they've, for whatever reason, chose you. So if you're constantly having the same thought about the same spirit, let's say it is Satan, for lack of a better term, it seems like occultists like to start there. You start with Satan, and once you realize what Satan is, what the concept is, and what it has to offer, you'll move along pretty quickly. But it's just that Satan is that big example of rebellion, going against the rules. You know, you're not going to tell me I can't be on the same level as God, etc., etc. There's something there that I think everyone relates to, but it's not important. What's important is your experiences that you have with these spirits and what you take from it. Now, if having an experience with a spirit just scares the crap out of you, then that's this experience you were meant to have then. You were just not meant to work with them, and if it terrifies you to the point where you're physically shaking and gripping your Bible, the occult is not for you. So, yeah, I've had friends that they can't watch a horror film, and from a very young age, I was watching horror films. I would say 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, I was into really hardcore films. So I had basically seen it all at that point. But the point of mentioning it is not that I'm some badass for watching it, but for a little kid to be watching something like The Exorcist at 8 or 9 years old and not really even be scared, but more intrigued, I thought that showed something about my nature. That maybe I was meant to be someone that works with large snakes and works with demons and has a disposition to love things that maybe the traditional person wouldn't have the audacity to love. And that's why we work with these spirits. It's because they're not just these airy, fluffy, loving, fill the world with joy type characters. They have real grit to who they are. They're more interesting in a lot of ways. They're more defined. They have a story. They're more ancient. They're more mysterious. They have much more extreme, exotic powers than a lot of just basic angels do. So those are some of the reasons for being interested in demons and things like that. But I can tell you this, I've never regretted it. I've never regretted getting into it. The only thing I have regretted is that I didn't go more hardcore into it and stick with it harder and maybe made a career out of it, like being a psychic or something like that, or a tarot card reader from an early age. If I would have realized the gift that I have, I could have actually taken advantage of it and helped a lot of people by using that gift. But now I make a YouTube channel, so go figure. Anyway, dark blessings, my friends, and don't be afraid to drench those statues in blood.